There you go. 1, 2, 3. We got in the corner. He went in no problem. Took the plate in both locations, this one farther than the other, cut back so that we could get over in here with the post, and pulled a pair of studs out that were just sort of still in there. They did have several nails per each sheathing board, per each adjacent side, so they were really in there. And so I just went along with the Hacksaw pistol grip reciprocating saw in one hand and a pair of pliers in the other, holding the old nail steady and zinging them off with the right blade in that oscillating saw. This meant that I didn't have to send the nail out, tear anything out to the outside, pull it through, making a big war, breaking sheathing boards on the way. I just cut them all off, and obviously once the post was in place, we shot our own ring shank galvanized nail, which is what you need for use with pressure treated lumber. Must be hot dip galvanized or they will react. So this is a bit unbuttoned here still, but ostensibly, structurally speaking, we're not going anywhere. And so now we have 1, 2, 3 poles of our 8-pole pole barn. The one thing that they're each plumb, and it's hard to appreciate this from the camera angle with it being a wide angle lens, but as far as the look of this thing, it's dipping down a little bit here, and it's hard because the gutter should have some fall, so that can skew things, but it's looking really trim, smooth, straight, square, and of course each of the posts is plumb. However, I am not sure whether this one may be in, this one out, this one in. It's hard to look down. They certainly aren't by a lot. When we get 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to be looking for everybody to disappear at the same time, and of course 1 and 2 from us here disappear before 3 does to a certain tiny extent. It's really close, and to control it from a plan view, if this was the rectangle of the building overhead, what we're saying is together the building may have wandered like this. I'm being like a flag, but I'm being it's pronounced in this illustration of my point, but in a very small way. That may be what has been going on here, and that is difficult to correct, at least at the same time, without a lot more equipment. So without too many disclaimers, this is going to be really nice and certainly very permanent, but the small variance that we may have was in this plane of the wall may do a little wander like this, and that's generally a factor of where the building is. Slapping a beam into it tight to the back of the sheathing, attaching a post at a certain interval, sending him tight to the sheathing, and then pulling him around at his base and side to side so that he's plumb, doesn't mean that in space he is on the same plane exactly as this, because of course you work backwards when you lay out a building like this from its genesis or the outset. You find these locations and set these posts in a perfect plane, and then going forward, going up, you continue to keep that dialed in. We are working backwards here, and of course the building was built like that originally, but it has migrated a little bit. But that being said, it's time to move on to post number 4 and pole number 4. It's a pole barn or a post barn, but I've been making puns on post and on pole, so this here is pole position, according to that plumb bob. There's another pun for you. But that plumb bob is just a guide and give me a sense that it's hard to really be outside and reference a point inside that is 10 or 12 feet over your head. So for all the digging and effort and chiseling and placement of the footings or foundation pucks, you want to have a reference so that when you come on, see if we can't get that to expose. No. So that you're real close, but that's where we got to be. And so we've cleaned out this corner here. There's a nail. I need to nip off right there, but you can see the evidence of the hacking and slashing that we did here and cutting up the plate. Really, all it's left to do is come up the ladder, take down the plumb bob arrangement, stick the end of our tape measure down there on the concrete, and you never want to look up at a situation like this to get a measurement. We want to keep our eyes right. It's going to be hard with the light, but you want to lose the bottom surface and have your eye line right at that plane by basically just losing that bottom surface, and look right through that area to the tape measure itself and get a measurement there. And that will be what we bring out yonder to the post itself, which is one of the heavier ones. They're all soaking wet, being pressure treated, but we'll make sure the end is relatively square to the length of the post. Sometimes the factory gets a bit liberal with their roughing cuts. And then when we have a nice end, we'll pull the tape, transfer that measurement over here. I did not establish any precedent like I spoke of before where I added any certain amount. I've just been taking the measurement and cutting the measurement and installing the post of that measurement. And as far as our elevations go, we're inside of 1/8 of an inch so far, because you do have, I scattered a little dirt at the bottom of the whole hard pack to drop that footing onto and have it intercept the bottom of the hole and not rock all around or anything like that. I wanted a little skim coat of soft, fluffy dirt so that it packed it down, but then didn't travel very much farther for the sake of the very bottom of the hole that has no more disturbed earth beneath it. I did that 4 times, and the amount of dirt I threw in there, and the puck itself, and the area of the ground, and the post itself, those tiny variables add up, and so cutting the post to the exact length that was necessary and putting the weight of the building back on it. The weight's different at the corners than it is in the middle. Yada yada yada. It squished or didn't squish among the 3 here, and hopefully to the 4th, inside of 1/8 of an inch, which is real nice. Of course, it would be awesome to be perfect, but go fuck yourself and don't ever look at a tape measure in here, and we won't have any problems. But really, in all seriousness, I'm pretty proud of that situation there. And we'll throw the post in tonight and break down. That's carrying no weight anymore because the post is in. I'm just too lazy. I doubled up down here to really crank this end up to where it needed to be without stressing out my sweet new equipment. It was easy enough to just slip another one in here. And so we're going to leave off for the weekend with 1/2 of the posts installed, and we'll pick up Monday with combining all this lifting beam timber into one long beam like we discussed with this one here. So we'll zip it apart, zip it back together again, bring it in. We may have to start thinking about whether or not we're going to leave this overhead door. Maybe that's got to be broken down to a certain extent. We'll get the shores installed underneath that beam once again, and in the meantime I have to pull the swing cylinder from this backhoe, which is one of the cylinders that move the boom side to side, swing it side to side. It is this one here. These have a breather that let air out of the system because you're drawing and compressing oil, and the potential to create a vacuum or to work against a bubble of pressure is good enough that you put in an air breather on these systems so that you never over stressing the system. So that should never be able to have fluid come out of it, but fluid is coming out of it, which means inside that cylinder somewhere there's a seal that has degraded or failed, and so fluid's finding its way to the air side of that system and out the air breather, because when I ask that cylinder to move my boom, it's puking my $80 it's $80 for a 5-gallon pail of Hi-Guard hydraulic fluid, and it's puking it on the ground at a kind of an incredible rate. So I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there's the puddle of it there, but it just keeps, and that's making me sad in my sad zone. So we're just gonna we're done digging basically, so we're gonna back that off and put it in a place here that makes it easy enough to pull the cylinder, and we're gonna simultaneously, to a certain extent, rebuild that down at the shop with a new seal kit that came in for us, and set up a new lifting arrangement here. And we're also waiting to fix our chipping hammer and or buy a new chipping hammer so that chiseling out a space for each post in this much more significantly robust foundation is that much easier. So we'll be doing a little tool repair and a little bench work that we may show you, and getting set up for second verse, same as the first, down here at the cute little barn conversion project. All right, thanks everybody for watching, and have a good weekend. We'll see you.